This is a D20 dice, but it's not the one that I'm going to be making today. This one is a giveaway for you guys, but more on that later. This is an actual D20 dice and it has got 20 sides and it's called an icosahedron, in case you weren't aware. And so I'm going to be making another one of these. It's going to be much larger than this one. Well, not much, although I could make a really, really huge one. Although I've only got a small house, so where would I keep it? I'm gonna stick to a reasonable size, but it is actually gonna be bigger than this one. And like I said, this one is for a giveaway, so I'll give you more details on that later on. I'm gonna be making the dice from foam, and as you can see behind me, I've got a huge roll of it here. This is the CF100 EVA foam, and I bought it from Polyprops UK. I'm gonna leave some details in the description of all the materials I'm gonna be using today. And I'm also gonna be giving you instructions on how to make it, because there are some details that I think you might find really useful. To start with, I made a triangle template out of paper, and I'm going to use this by placing it onto the foam and tracing around it, and then I can cut it and hopefully cut it quite evenly. So this triangle is equilateral, meaning all sides are equal, and I'm going to need 20 of these to make up the 20-sided dice, so I better get cutting. I really didn't think this through. I'm going to be using this white gel pen to mark out onto the foam. So what I'm going to do is just line this template up to the edge and just put a mark where the point is, so that then I can make a straight line cut, and that way I've got a thinner strip to work with, which is going to be a lot easier than having this bulky mass on my desk. Hopefully it won't take up too much, and then I've got loads of foam left over to make maybe some more. I have two strips. That wasn't awkward at all. Right. My cuts are a little wonky, but I have actually got a plan for any wonky edges once it's put together, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm just using a Stanley blade. It is a new blade, so it is very sharp. What I found is if you keep the cut, like the angle that you're cutting, quite low, then it does cut quite smoothly. If your blade is really dull, you are going to get a lot of tear out on the foam. I'm going to cut out all the triangles, and then I'm going to go through how to make the bevel on the edges, because, well, you'll see, you can't just put the triangles together, you have to cut a bevel on them. So I will go through all the details of that. But first, I'm going to cut these out. Cutting these out was the easy bit. The next bit is going to be cutting the bevel. Now these are going to need a bevel, because if I was to stick them together like that, you can see that there's going to be a gap. And so I want them to stick together really seamlessly. To get the bevel degrees on what you're going to need to cut, you could just Google it, and I'm going to tell you it's 20.9 degrees. But even so, now that you know what the bevel should be, how are you going to cut that? So what I want to do is be able to draw a line on one side, and then I can either cut the material or I can sand it down to that line so that I get a nice smooth bevel. And to figure out how far from the edge I need to draw that line, we're going to bust out the trigonometry. But don't worry, don't panic, I've figured it all out for you. I've got all the equation figured out. I'm just going to go through it so that you can understand how it works. If you look at the cross section, we want to mark out where the angle is, and that's going to give us a triangle. Now we know what the thickness is, we know the angle, which is 20.9 degrees. What we want to figure out is the length of the line on the triangle that is opposite the angle. Calculation is tan degrees equals the opposite over adjacent. Now we just need to rearrange that equation so that we make it equals the opposite, which is the line that we want to calculate. So for my material, it's going to be 10 tan 20.9 degrees, and that will give me 3.8 millimeters, and that's where I need to draw the line from the edge, 3.8 millimeters in. If you haven't got a scientific calculator, just put this equation into the Google search bar and it will figure it out for you. Make sure that you do type in degrees, otherwise Google might think you mean radians, and that will throw your numbers way off. If you're using a different thickness material, you just replace the 10 at the start of the equation, and you need to do it in millimeters. And I've also linked a template in the description that you can download, which has got all the calculations for not only a D20, but all the different polyhedral dice in a polyhedral set. So a D4, D6, a D8, a D10 and a D12. And obviously the D20 as well. Now I've got 60 sides to cut at an angle. Okay, as messy as that was, it was a lot quicker than it would have been had I used a knife, and it was a lot neater. Okay, back to normal. Now I have 20 pieces all cut up with a beveled edge so that when I put them together, it's going to be nice and seamless across the top. The next step is to start gluing it together. I'm going to be using impact glue for this. It's a contact adhesive, and I'm going to take 5 of them first to stick them all in a circle and then glue them all up together and hold them in place with tape while the glue dries. Now, because I'm using the impact glue, I have got a little bit of time to work with it, so I put it on each side and I leave it a little bit until it's almost dry and then stick it together. So I've got this piece here. This is going to form one part of the die. And this piece here, I've left one side off just so that when I put the middle section together, I can actually reach in and just make sure that it's all aligned before I put on that last piece. So the next step is to take the remaining pieces and lay them out in a single line, one upright, one upside down, all the way along, and then glue them all together in a circle. And that's going to form like the center of the dice. And once that's done, I can then glue on the top and the bottom pieces. I've got the last one to go. It shouldn't be too bad. It doesn't actually fit. I'm going to have to squash it in a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Good thing about foam is that it is like compressible. So I managed to sort of squeeze it in okay. Bit of tidying up to do, but I have actually got a plan that's going to cover all that up. I'm just going to start painting, and I'm going to paint mostly just the middle bit and not worry about the edges. I'm going to be using this. It's called Hex Flex. It is a clear like primer, and it's flexible water-based coat. It's just going to help the acrylic paint stick on it a lot better, and it's also going to be a little bit flexible. I bought this from Polyprops UK as well. I'm just going to put this aside and work on the next part. I have got some thinner EVA foam here. I think this is about 1 millimeter thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up into strips, and this is going to cover up all the seams and all the edges. I've cut a template out on paper, and this is what I'm going to use to lay onto the thinner pieces of foam to cut out. And these are going to go on the dice like that, and they're going to cover up the corners. For a triangle it's 60 degrees there, so I wanted to do half of that for each of these, so it's just a 30-degree angle from the center there. And that way when I put one here, I can also put one there and they will meet up. It's looking good so far. If you were going to make a dice and you were just going to leave it like this and not put the edges on, you could just sand them down. If you have any gaps, you can get a foam clay that can fill those. This is the foam clay that I've got. I got it from Polyprops UK. It comes sealed in a bag inside, and it is the strangest material I've ever felt. It's really kind of stringy and soft and really strange, and so light and smooth and silky. It's seriously strange. So if you've got gaps, say at the points, you could fill them in with the clay. And the good thing about it is that once it dries, you can sand it down and it's just going to blend in with the rest of the foam, because it's all foam, it's all the same thing. So it's a really handy option for fixing little mistakes. You can also sculpt with it, so if you wanted to, oh, now that's an idea. I could sculpt the letters and stick them on there. That's an idea, because I was going to carve them in with the Dremel, but it made my hands all tingly and I didn't want to do that. I'll have to think about that. I'm not at that stage yet, so I'll come back to it. Before I get into the painting, I'm going to go through the details of the giveaway. The giveaway is for this dice. I made this D20 dice in the same way that I'm making this larger one, and I thought it would be a nice little giveaway for you guys as a thank you for taking the time to watch my videos and to support my channel. So if you would like to win this, you will have to be subscribed to my channel, and I hope that that's something that you want to do. And all you need to do is to just drop a comment saying that's a big dice. Obviously you can say something else in the comment as well if you want, but you have to have that phrase, that's a big dice, to be considered to be in the giveaway for this. And make sure to only enter if you really do want to win it. I'd really love this to go to someone that really wants it. I'll put the end date of the giveaway on the screen, and I'll announce the winners sometime after that on Twitter, Instagram, and the community tab of my YouTube channel. So that's the details of how to win this, and I really hope it does go to someone that really wants it. I spent a lot of time making this and I actually really like it. I would like to keep it, but I'm making a larger one to keep for myself, so I'm really happy to give this away to someone that really wants it. It's a little bit late in the evening to be going outside spray painting, so I'm going to carry on with this tomorrow, and for you that'll be just in a few seconds. So what do you think? I'm actually blown away with how good it looks. I'm really happy with it, and I'm so pleased that I went with the 1mm foam for the numbers. I think that turned out really well. And I don't know, it's a giant D20 and I freaking love it. So give me a thumbs up if you love it too. And don't forget to enter to win this, I'm giving it away. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. The only thing left to do now is to see if I can roll a critical hit.